Alright, it finally looks like the boring times are coming to an end, and this might actually be the last week to get in at these prices before Bitcoin goes parabolic and it never comes back. As this article on Cointelegraph says, Bitcoin price has jumped to a 2-week high on the Grayscale versus SEC Bitcoin ETF win. A ruling by the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit stated that the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, was wrong to reject an application by Grayscale to launch an exchange-traded ETF using the Bitcoin spot price as its basis. So basically, this all but confirms that we're going to be seeing a spot Bitcoin ETF coming up real soon, and it might actually be happening by the end of this week because we have the BlackRock spot ETF deadline on Saturday, and that's probably going to be getting wrapped up by Friday because we have a long weekend with Labor Day being on Monday. This article goes on to say, Grayscale thus joins the waiting list of firms seeking to launch what would become the first U.S. spot Bitcoin ETF, with the SEC yet to approve any application. I'm not seeing when that deadline is actually going to be, but I guess it's going to be coming up soon, and I think that it's probably a lot more likely now that we're going to see the SEC approve BlackRock's ETF so that they can front run everybody, since they basically hold all the power, or at least all the real power behind the scenes, if you know what I mean. It goes on to say that Grayscale's legal battle with the SEC was a lengthy and slow-moving one, with the CEO among those insisting that the firm would not rest until granted permission to convert existing Bitcoin investment vehicle, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, or GBTC, to an ETF. So they're not just going to be starting a spot Bitcoin ETF out of nowhere, they're actually planning on converting the GBTC into an ETF. So this could actually set precedent for other trusts to maybe convert their stuff into spot. And as the SEC continues to lose these really important lawsuits, I think it's going to become harder and harder for them to actually not approve these spot ETFs and other things for the crypto space. And maybe they're not going to be as much of a powerful force in this war against cryptocurrency that the government is waging after all. Rand from Crypto Banter actually pointed out some of the ridiculousness in his video this morning.
So the blue is the chart of Bitcoin, and the orange is the performance of the BITO, which is the Bitcoin Futures ETF. And what you can see is that the Bitcoin Futures ETF always underperforms the performance of Bitcoin, or almost always underperforms the performance of holding the underlying asset. And so if the SEC is saying that, look, we're here to protect investors, we're protecting millions of investors, how can you approve an ETF that gives investors less of a return than the actual underlying asset? And that's very interesting here.
It is very interesting because they continue to approve all of these futures ETFs, and they don't want you to actually be able to get your hands on the spot, which doesn't really make sense if you're supposed to be protecting investors. Because basically, from the looks of things, by this chart, the only thing they're protecting you from is more profits.
What does this mean for Grayscale now? What's the next step?
Well, this is, more than a year-long process. Last June, the SEC denied our application to convert GBTC to an ETF. We immediately filed a lawsuit, went through briefs, went through oral arguments, and to yesterday receive an opinion from the court that unanimously had 3 judges all rule in our favor. Vacating the SEC's denial order is a huge victory for us, for our investors, for really the crypto community and the investment community as a whole.
Yeah, they called this arbitrary and capricious, the SEC's decision to deny this, just based on the idea that the futures market and the spot price were pretty closely linked, and it should be allowed to go ahead with that. The SEC says it is still looking into it. It does have the opportunity to appeal this, either to a full slate of judges on the D.C. court or to the U.S. Supreme Court. What happens? What could that mean? Because it could be an expensive fight to continue.
Sure. So today marks day 1 of a 45-day process where the SEC can request a rehearing. We really have to be patient now and follow the federal rules of appellate procedure here during that time period. And ultimately, the court will issue a final mandate that will detail the operational next steps.
So basically, that's why we haven't started to see Bitcoin's price go absolutely parabolic, and it has kind of leveled off a little bit since its initial pump yesterday. We did see a pretty big pump yesterday, but people are apparently scared that the SEC is going to be actually appealing this and that it's not going to be official. And they obviously still are looking forward to the Friday or Saturday deadline for BlackRock to see if that gets pushed out, because if it does, then that might mean that we're going to go sideways for a little while longer. But if you think that this pump is significant, then you've seen nothing yet, because if on Friday or Saturday we actually do get that BlackRock Bitcoin ETF approved, then this thing is going to explode. And that could mean that there's only 1 week left to get into Bitcoin, But if it's actually delayed until next month, then there could be about a month left. But whenever this thing finally does eventually go through, this is just a sign of what's to come. Today we did get the GDP for Q2 coming in finally, and it was lower than expected at 2.1%, with an expectation of 2.4% and the previous being 2%. So it looks like the GDP has just gone up a little bit, but it is lower than it was expected to be, meaning that the economy is still cooling off. And these could be positive numbers to make the Fed actually continue with their pause. But we'll just see if these numbers continue to come in lower than expected, because I don't know about you, but gas around me has continued to go up again. As we know, gas works its way through the economy, and it basically is required to obviously ship anything around and make products available for people to buy. So these increasing oil and gasoline prices might work their way through the economy and bring numbers back up. But in the meantime, it does look like the numbers are continuing to go down. In other great news, here we have an article saying that Twitter has acquired required licenses to add crypto payments to the platform. Here we have a list of states that he's actually applied for licenses in. And the longer this list gets, the closer we're actually going to be to seeing crypto payments probably going live on the X platform. And if Elon Musk's love affair with Dogecoin is any indication, it could be one of the very first cryptocurrencies offered on the platform, or to become available to be used for payments. It probably won't just be Dogecoin, but maybe it actually will be the first one. And then shortly after that, or maybe even at the same time, we'll see probably Ethereum and Bitcoin and other big cryptocurrencies added to the list. And whenever that happens, it's going to put obvious pressure to the upside for the price of all of the cryptos that are listed. But this list is pretty short for all of the states that he has licenses in at the moment, so it's probably going to be a while until this is implemented. And now we finally got an update on the Bitboy Crypto situation, and the rumors have started to change, so maybe a lot of the information in my last video about it is not actually correct. Let's see what they had to say on Crypto Banter.
Should we talk about Bitboy? So, he got ousted from his own channel, and it seems like it's like a hostile takeover. He didn't agree to it. It's a real hostile takeover. And yesterday he got onto a Telegram group with a whole lot of other influencers. And I mean, I'll read you some of the things that happened out there. It has been published, so we can talk about this.
First, I wanted to comment on the hostile takeover situation. In my opinion, it kind of seemed to me like that was his channel. I mean, he was doing it on his own for a long time before the previous bull market. And then in the last bull market, he kind of grew a team, and it looks like they kind of just took the power and stole his whole channel. I mean, I know there's a whole business and a bunch of probably contracts and stuff around it now, and it's obviously more complicated, but in my opinion, that was already his channel, and you can't just kind of steal the whole thing from him, even if he was putting it in jeopardy. I mean, there has to be some kind of way where you guys could have went your own separate way or something like that, but I mean, obviously I don't know that much details because I don't know what the contracts and all that stuff looks like. It just seems like if I was building up this channel and then eventually I had a big team around me and they stole the channel, I would be pretty damn pissed off. But that's not my business, obviously.
This is after the Bitboy Crypto team said yesterday, BJ Investments, the parent company of Hit Network, took decisive legal action in removing Ben Armstrong from the company and specifically the Bitboy Crypto brand. Difficult decision, blah, blah, blah. So what he says is as follows. He says, number one, I'm withholding any statements right now. I have not relapsed. That's a lie, he said in the call. He said, Justin Williams and TJ have cooked up this plot because I take diet pills. I take phentermine. Now, phentermine has amphetamine in it. It's almost like taking it's like taking speed, basically. Armstrong.
Yeah, a lot of these diet pills are actually uppers and some kind of amphetamine. And while that is really close to the stuff that he would have supposedly relapsed onto, it's not exactly the same thing. And if it is actually prescribed to him, then I don't think that's something that you should be able to take his channel away from him for obviously.
Says anybody can look this up. Everybody knows. My wife knows. He added that he has a valid prescription for the weight loss drug. Okay. He says the fact that he's taken cocaine is incorrect, factually incorrect. He says they're using this to get me out of the company. I wonder why they want him out of the company. We'll talk about that in a second. He says he dubbed this alleged behavior as diabolical and insane. But later on in the same thing, He said, I threatened to beat the crap out of TJ when I found out he was trying to take everything from me. He was trying to strip me of everything. Okay, I just want to go to the part. There is a part somewhere. I think it's in this article. Here we go.
It was up there. I saw it.
Yeah, well, let's quickly just look here. His drug test. I mean, this seems to be a real drug test. I'm not going to say, that it's whether it's real or not, but it says, he's tested himself for amphetamines, cocaine, marijuana, opiates, and it checks out on this test that he's not on any of those things.
I would say that that's pretty significant. Like he said, it might not be real, and who knows if it's real, but if it is, and that's provable, then I would say he probably has some kind of a good case in court, since they said that he had actually relapsed, and that was in their public statement.
Armstrong elaborated in a voice call that he does take the steroids testosterone and Dynable, but alleged that Williams and Shed have purchased them for him.
All right, he's going to go into more detail about this, but that's really the point that I wanted to get to, is that apparently he wasn't relapsed onto meth. He's actually on steroids, including testosterone and Dianabol, which in my opinion, that is no problem, honestly. I mean, a lot of people are on testosterone, and including people like Joe Rogan, and imagine him getting his whole show taken away because he was on testosterone. It just doesn't make sense. And I would say that that's definitely a hostile takeover and should definitely be illegal. Even if he had relapse onto meth, I don't think he should be able to have his whole channel taken away from him and all of the power stripped from his name, basically. But steroids and diet pills is basically just showing that he's trying to better himself. But like I said earlier, I don't really know that much about the situation, and I've never met these people, so obviously I'm just speculating. But like I said in my previous video, he has been acting pretty crazy, and I would say that the steroids kind of explain that due to the roid rage. So maybe he did take it a little bit too far, but it seems to me like things have gone way too far on both sides, and I think that it is actually diabolical, and it does seem like something a little bit fishy is going on here. But like I said, this is all just speculation. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. And don't forget, I've got new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you can get early access to all of that content on X. Plus, there's real-time updates all the time in my free Discord, link down in the description. And to show support, you can find my gear over on onlygoodcrypto.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe or follow over on X. And most importantly, don't forget to have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. This is Ibisu. He's named after one of the 7 lucky gods of Japan. According to legend, he will bring wealth and prosperity to anybody who evokes his name. So don't forget to write his name in the comments, or you'll bring dishonor to your whole portfolio. And check out this video right here. Say goodbye, Ibisu.